What was the craziest reason a teacher at your school got fired? In high school, FL, for pay our teacher took us canoeing. Instead of checking the weather, he brought 15 freshmen into the channel our school was on. A severe thunderstorm hit, and our teacher paddled safely back to school and left us teens in the water. We tied our canoes together and rowed back to school, but we were drenched and super late. Our teacher was just standing on the dock, not a care in the world. He got fired like 2 days later. Our high school art teacher got fired after someone found an old YouTube video of him painting with his butt cheeks. We held a protest to try to keep him around, but they fired him anyway. He was caught putting a camera under the girls' swimming changing room door. Year 6, grade 5. Sucker was sick. She quit. She was the nicest teacher in the shittiest school in my area. Taught 10th grade history. My class was particularly very bad to her, though she also told me her other classes weren't great either. She was made fun of because though she was in her 30s, she had short and choppy grey hair, and her being nice all the time led to kids getting away with more than they should have. One day after a bad class, my class came in and started bullying her again. She had already clearly been crying, and that day she had enough. She spent that day telling us that she has a very rare form of brain cancer. Showed us pictures of her just a few years back, with her husband and deceased child. Even then, some of the kids in that class had no empathy and thought it poetic justice for a teacher to get cancer. That was her last day. I hugged her on the way out. I was a shy kid, didn't really talk much, but I wish I had said more. Unfortunately, she has since passed away. I hope there is a special place in heaven for people who are victimized like this. Not sure if crazy or dumb, but my teacher when I was in 3rd grade got fired for selling us Pokemon cards that she would confiscate from other classes during recess. She told us we could buy the cards, about $25, but we couldn't have them out during school hours. I had a teacher that did this with sunglasses. Wear sunglasses in his class, and they get confiscated. I saw the value in this system. Personally, I check in regularly with him and buy nice sunglasses after class for $2 a pair. I honestly don't think 90% of the kids who had sunglasses confiscated even realized they were just the supply side of the system. A professor at my college was placed on administrative leave because he was charged with participating in the Rwandan genocide, and was deported shortly after. He ended up being found not guilty, although I think he's still in a Rwandan prison for denying that the genocide happened. Other than the sex scandal with underage students that happened, my best friend got a teacher fired on accident because she was buying and selling UGR cards with students. He just so happened to say how cool it was to another teacher, which led to, well, the not so happy ending. Sent a P-link instead of Google form by email. Many students then commented on the video with a lot of great jokes. Funny times. Took one for the team. A history teacher I had in high school gave us a lot of random documentary movie days, during which she would just sit in the back at her desk drinking tea. The year after I graduated, she had a movie day, and when the film ended she didn't get up or do anything but sit there, eyes closed. Fearing the worst, some students went to the office and brought an administrator down who found she was passed out drunk. They found bottles in her desk. Oh god, I was expecting this to end like my drama teacher. He died in his classroom reading. Students found his body the next morning. I went to HS in the early 80s in a tiny rural Appalachian town 35 miles from the closest traffic light. We had classes that taught auto mechanics, one that taught carpentry, had a motorcycle riding class and a rifle shooting class, and classes for welding and machine shop with lathes and milling machines etc. The teacher of the machine shop got arrested for making silencers for the mafia, and half the stuff he had us making as class projects on the lathes and milling machines was items he used in making them. I'm from a town like that, only we had one stoplight in the county. It was on wheels, so you could move it to different places that needed it different times of the year. A teacher called one of his students and drunk confessed his obsessive love to her on voicemail, promising to leave his new wife and baby for her. Not only is that messed up to the extreme, it seems so weird. My kindergarten teacher picked me up by the neck and tossed me across the room. She wasn't actually fired, just not allowed to teach kindergarten again. Instead, She taught 2nd grade. She was my teacher that year, too. In her defense, odds are pretty good that I had it coming. I'm sorry, but even the most facetious and mischievous kindergarten doesn't deserve to be picked up and thrown. Not my school, but one in my general area had an entire lunch period's worth of students watch a male teacher scream at his wife, female teacher in the same school, after catching her with the janitor in school. To be fair, that's how some people probably react. A student teacher who was coaching cheer gave a girl pain meds, narcotic, without a prescription or permission from parents. She got fired. Never heard if she managed to get a teaching license after that. I remember a day where I got my braces tightened and asking a friend for a Tylenol. I guess my science teacher overheard because he gave me one, but he made me promise not to tell anybody. Don't know what would have happened if I told someone my science teacher gave me a pill. Our AP calculus teacher in high school had a mental break, ranted for an entire class period about some nonsense, then drank an entire bottle of salsa, stormed out and never came back. They had a substitute for the rest of the semester, which was unfortunate since the sub wasn't a calculus teacher, so they were at a disadvantage for the AP test. Freshman year of HS we kept having bomb scares. About once a month we would have to evacuate while the police brought the bomb dogs to check out the place. Turns out it was one of our long-term subs. She got arrested, but don't know the end result. He threw pencils at students. One day he threw a chair at a girl who annoyed him. Serious anger management issues. And then they found the child pee on his computer at school. Rumor was that he had also been grooming one of the student aides. I haven't heard a thing about him since the year he disappeared. My middle school history teacher, Mr. Lewis, used to invite me and some of my friends, all girls, into his room before classes, since otherwise we had to stay in the incredibly cramped hallway. This was desirable, especially when he let us play with Cliverbit on his desktop. Mr. Lewis was pretty weird. He only ever wore velvet suits with pocket squares, and sometimes he'd randomly start crying in the middle of class. Weirdest of all, he'd make us listen to his love poetry, dedicated to his dead wife, who we later learned did not and had not existed. In retrospect, that love poetry was definitely for us. Specifically, it was for one of us, my friend Ruth, who looked notably younger than your average 12-yo. He'd always ask her to write notes on the blackboard and stare at her while she did it. The rest of us noticed Ruth was Mr. Lewis' favorite, but it didn't strike us as that weird. Well, one day, it was only Ruth who got to school early. The rest of us didn't come till later. She went into Mr. Lewis' room, and I guess he tried something. Luckily I don't think it got very far. He was put on leave. They brought him back a year later. Fun. It was in a Catholic monastery school not even 10 years ago. My homeroom teacher prevented the suicide of a nun and got fired for it. That's literally all the info we pupils got at the time. Apparently you can't do anything right in this world. A really cool teacher of mine put on the 2016 Deadpool movie in class after some convincing from the class. Anyways, some kid snitched. No idea who. And because the movie was rated R, she was fired. She was really cool too and I felt pretty bad. The kid who snitched is in butthole. Two excellent teachers at my high school, Miss Someone and Mr. Something, fell in love and moved in together and later got married. When they moved in together, the Catholic high school fired her for living in sin, but he got to keep his job. Catholic schools will fire you for the stupidest reasons. Our teacher was a chronic liar and lied about having a master's and a degree. Funny thing is, she actually did have a relevant degree that would have got her the job. Other lies include dating Brad Pitt, being an ex-gang member, and even being a multi-millionaire but just enjoying teaching. I have some strong deja vu from this comment. I swear I've seen it before. Had a history teacher show a bunch of 7th graders drunk history. The goody two shoes of the class asked and told her mom, who complained to the school. He was fired by the end of the week. That's the girl that asks if we need to turn in assignments right before class gets out. He left his laptop open in class while teaching and a student found child pee on it while trying to play a prank. Cops promptly found stashes of the stuff at his house when they investigated further, was arrested and is now in prison as far as I know. He taught students aged 11-16. organized a student choir, and was even the main teacher for some of the younger classes. This was well publicized in the local media at the time. Not just a vile nonce, but a freaking dumb one at that. My language arts teacher got caught taking the bus up to the mountain to smoke weed with the ski club. This was back before the sticky icky was legal here. I guess you could say he was high up. Okay, I'll leave. A teacher at my middle school got fired because they found her picture on an adult site with no top and her number written across her chest. 25 years ago at my all-boys Catholic high school, a priest was accused of court molesting a student. Of course, this wasn't a firing offense for a priest back then, it was just hushed up. The guy was creepy as heck. Earlier this year I read about him in the paper, a fresh round of allegations. He was allowed to keep on going for another 25 freaking years. You write Catholic priest and you instantly know what it's gonna be about. A male coach was having sex with one of the female students. She was under 16. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison. That is not all. A female teacher helped keep it a secret. The female teacher left the job, spent a few days in jail, but mostly went unscathed due to her cooperation in the investigation. She did lose her license. Wonder why she even helped keep it a secret. Human trafficking and 9 counts of sexual misconduct with a minor. That dude went all out. A teacher apparently got fired for doing drugs before class a couple years after I had her. I thought it was just rumors before the principal just avoided the question after being asked about it. On a Friday night, a gym teacher girls basketball coach purposefully threw a bong out of the passenger side window of his pickup truck. He was in the passenger seat. His wife was driving, causing it to smash on the hood of an on-duty sheriff in a marked Crown Victoria. Again, he meant it to smash on the hood of the cop car. He got out trying to assault the cop but was quickly tased. Never saw him again after that. He was a cool guy. He tried to pull a GTA 5 and failed miserably. Not crazy, but I got a teacher fired by accident. I was in Spanish 2 and was almost failing. This was odd since I mainly had as B+S. My mom also found this odd since I went to tutoring after class and asked for other help. After talking to others in my class about my performance, I realized a lot of the class was doing poor. My mom called the principal and thought she was doing so anonymously, however she forgot to 67 and the principal knew exactly who he was talking to. Next thing I know, he visited our class unannounced and sat there the whole time not using his phone, iPad or laptop. He then came in a couple more times for 10+ minutes. Next school year she was no longer a teacher and was moved to iPad support in our school district. This is a kicker. I had no idea our principal was fluent in Spanish. He clearly realized our teacher had no idea what she was doing. My first year teaching, I was told I had to teach a Spanish elective. We had Rosetta Stone, but I didn't speak Spanish regardless, lol. It was a horrible semester for me, and probably the kids. Taught world religion at a private Christian high school so well that kids started opening up their minds to other worldviews. I think the parents played a big role in him getting fired. That's sad. One of my professors at a religious college was too good at teaching his scripture class. He was one of the few who actually taught it from a scholarly perspective. They ended up banning him from teaching that class because of the controversy, though they didn't fire him and they did let him teach other classes. I talked about this a few days ago, but she told me she didn't want me doing any practical work because she knew I was retarded and it's not fair that I take all her attention away from the normal children. I was 14, autistic, and it broke my freaking heart. I taught children with autism for years and your comment breaks my heart. That woman doesn't belong anywhere near a classroom. Grade 6. Our male teacher was apparently wrestling after hours with a girl in our class and gifting her lottery tickets. One day our principal came in, asked the teacher to come with him. They both got in the principal's car and we never saw that teacher again. My best guess is the teacher got freaking murdered. Didn't get fired, but should have. 9th grade, room of angsty teens gets a new English teacher, Mrs. Redacted. This English teacher likes 3 things: Jesus, pouring pills down her autistic son's throat, and Anne Rice. During class, when talking about an assignment, a couple students talked about a student who attempted suicide and the teacher had enough. She got up and explained how to properly cut your wrists to a whole class. What an educational experience. A maths teacher got in a fist fight with the art teacher because the maths teacher stopped the guys who were doing art from leaving his maths class to take their state exam. The exam was the Junior Cert Art Practical. This was in Ireland. I have a better question. What is the worst thing that a teacher didn't get fired for? Crapping in a garbage can all year instead of a toilet. How did they not get fired for that? Also, thanks for the idea, this is mine now. Probably not that crazy, but a history teacher who made sexually explicit commentary jokes directed largely at female students on multiple occasions, showed multiple R-rated films that had nothing to do with the curriculum, without getting parental consent. This was 6th grade, so we were 12 years old or so. He also really liked to talk about the Nanking Massacre in graphic detail, especially the sexual parts, complete with pictures he put up on the projector. He devoted multiple days to it. I never got confirmation that that was what got him fired, but that was everything that I had documented with times and dates and brought up to the principal very shortly before he was never seen at school again. You and your peers need all the eye bleach you all can get. Was found to be in possession of crack seed during a drug bust. In terms of crimes, I suppose that's not much, but there are 2 stoplights in my hometown. It was a big deal. When I fact-checked myself before typing, I found the teacher's LinkedIn profile, and they mentioned being head of their department until they moved from the area. 1. They were literally the only teacher of their subject matter at my high school. 2. They resigned because they got busted, not moved out of state. I aspire to be half as confident with my LinkedIn. In my own words, one of my teachers was fired for doing sexual things during school hours, as in looking at girls' asses during track practice, and looking at pee during class. This man needs bonking. The geometry teacher caught someone cheating on a test, so he took her test and took a bite out of it in front of her. Not NSW, but it's still bizarre. Fiddled a kid at a summer camp. He's dead now, he got killed in prison 3 months in. I hope that kid is okay. High school, an annoying boy thought it would be funny to slap our math teacher's butt. He, a middle-aged man, immediately slapped that kid's face in return. Boy was invited to leave, teacher was fired. I don't see what the probably here is. He returned to sender. He had a bag of female students' hair in his desk. I still don't know what to make of it. He was one of the best and most well-liked teachers and coaches. I spent a lot of time with him due to sports, as did a lot of my friends and classmates, and he was never inappropriate. Not once. I've never spoken to anyone who has anything but positive memories of him. He had a bag of female students' hair in his desk. What the actual frick? Not a teacher but the school resource officer. He got caught having sexual relations with a freshman. Officer was like 52. Got caught raping a freshman, FTFY. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.